I want to show you a little bit about how to use your TI-84 calculator. So as you go ahead and turn your calculator on, you should really go through this demonstration with your calculator at hand so you can try them, pause it when you need to. Go ahead and turn the calculator on. When you work through this, you can actually type into your calculator exactly the way that it appears on your paper. So to evaluate this first problem, I'm just going to go 2 plus 3 and put the parentheses, 12 minus 4, and enter is what you use instead of equal. So anytime you were going to use equal, you're going to hit enter and you get that answer. Now remember, when we followed order of operations, 12 minus 4 is 8, 3 times 8 is 24, and 24 plus 2 is 26. So your calculator will follow the order of operations and you can type it in exactly the way it appears. Now this next problem is one I want to point out to you. It's something that a lot of people make mistakes on. If you type into your calculator -3 and to square it, you're going to hit the x squared button right over here and you'll see -3 squared. And if you think about what answer you might expect, if you want to square a -3, you know -3 times -3 is a +9. So if I push enter, notice that it tells me -9. That's because your calculator follows the order of operations. The first thing it does is it sees 3 squared because it does exponents first. 3 squared is 9. Then it takes the opposite of that and you end up with -9. All right, compare that to the next problem where we have -3 squared, hit the x squared button to square it, enter is equals, and you get 9, which is what you would expect. This time it takes a -3 and squares it, so it does -3 times -3. You want to be really careful on that. Anytime you are squaring a negative quantity and you're using your calculator, always, always, always use parentheses. Okay, now let me show you how to access fractions on your calculator. Now please keep in mind what I said. It is very important that you know how to add fractions, add and subtract fractions without a calculator, because if you don't, you won't be able to combine rational expressions when we are dealing with this in algebra. But to use fractions on your calculator, you're going to hit the alpha key and then this very first key, the y equals button, and you'll notice that you get this display, this screen. If you do not get this screen when you hit the alpha key and then the y equals button, you need to see me because I need to update your operating system so you can evaluate fractions. So this n over d is for just numerator and denominator. This second one is if you have a mixed number. So we're going to choose that. And you'll see then you've got the little spots all ready for it. So I'm going to type in a 3, the right arrow key, and a 1, the right arrow key, and a 2. The right arrow key again takes me out of the fraction. I want to add to that 5 2/3. So I'm going to hit alpha and y equals. That's just a shortcut key to get to that fraction button. Now I'm going to type in a 5, right arrow, 2, right arrow, and a 3. And I get an answer. The calculator just puts parentheses around there just so it makes it less confusing. Now notice my answer is written as 55/6. That is fine, but you might want it written as a mixed number, and you can change that to a mixed number by going alpha into the y equals, and let's go here. That didn't work, so hold on just a minute. Okay, I see it now. Probably some of you saw it when I did this. Alpha and then the y equals, and it wasn't this one, it's one more down. This tells you it's going to convert, it's going to change just a fraction to a mixed number, so you choose that. And this will take this A and S right here. Your calculator has a temporary storage, and it stores the last answer that it just computed. So right now it's got 55/6 stored there. So if you hit enter, it tells you 9 1/6. If you wanted to change this back again, hit alpha y equals, And this time you'd want to go, actually it changes it both directions. So you'd hit the same thing, and it should change it back to 55, 6. Now, of course, you know that 6 goes into 55 9 times, and there's 1 left over, so you get 9 and 1 6. So again, the calculator should never take the place of knowing how to do these basic math facts, but it will help you, and it's a tool to help you speed up the process. Suppose you're asked to evaluate 2x squared plus 3x minus 1 when x equals negative 4. The first thing you're going to do is substitute the value in. Be really careful, since I'm squaring the value, I'm going to put parentheses around the negative 4, and I'm going to do that here as well. So I substitute the value in. Now, of course, this is a problem that's not hard to do by hand, but you can also, if you're using your calculator, type it in exactly the way that you have it on your paper. And we get our answer. It's 19, which we could have got just as easily. Negative 4 squared is 16, so I have 2 times 16. 3 times negative 4 is negative 12. So we have 32 plus negative 12 minus 1. So we have 20 minus 1 is 19. So you can do it by hand. Your calculator, not hard to do. Well, how about one like this? Looks pretty complicated because we have a fraction, it's an algebraic expression, values to substitute in, but notice y is a fraction. So it looks pretty complicated. So on my calculator, well, first let's substitute values in. So we're going to have negative 2 squared plus 3 times negative 2 times a half plus a half cubed all over negative 2 minus 5. Type it in. This is one you probably wouldn't want to do. If you had to, you could, but hopefully. So we're going to first start with this fraction. And in the numerator, notice the cursor's in the numerator, so you're going to type it in, what we have in the numerator. Negative 2, hit the x squared button, plus 3, can put parentheses for times, negative 2. Now if you want to do the fraction for 1/2, you can. You can also do 1 divided by 2 for a half. I do that sometimes because I'm lazy and I think it's easier. Plus 1 divided by 2 gives you 1/2. And this time we want to raise it to the third power. There is no x cubed button. What you have to do, this is called a caret, so you have to hit the caret button, and then it will raise it to the power, and you hit a 3. Okay, so now I have the numerator. Hit the right arrow key. Have to hit the right arrow key again, drops me down to the denominator. Type in negative 2 minus 5. I'm going to hit the right arrow key and enter. And there's my answer. Now you could try and see what happens if you hit math, and notice the very first thing changes it to a fraction, and we get an answer in fraction form. So again, that was math and then the fraction key. So we have an answer, negative 9 over 56. So the calculator can be very helpful. Be careful. Make sure you know what you're typing in, because you have to be knowledgeable of the math that you're doing, and you need to be able to tell whether or not your answer is reasonable. Okay, let me show you another problem here with absolute value. And when you're evaluating this problem, again, let me just show you by hand first. You treat the absolute value like you would parentheses. So we have 2 times the absolute value, 3 minus 7 is negative 4, plus 5. Remember absolute value, and we're going to be talking about this coming up in class, but just as a review, the absolute value of negative 4 is 4 because it's talking about the distance from 0. So we have 2 times 4 plus 5 is 13. On your calculator, you hit the 2. To find absolute value, you're going to hit Math, and then you're going to go to the right arrow key where it says NUM for number, and notice the very first thing is ABS. That stands for absolute value. So if you choose that, hit Enter, and it actually even gives you the absolute value symbol. So you have 3 minus 7, and we can do plus 5, and there's our answer. So it can do absolute value. You just have to kind of know where those symbols are. I believe absolute value can also be found under here. I did alpha, and then I hit the window key, which really what I'm accessing is the green. Alpha is green, so I'm accessing that F2. And these are the functions that are in that location. So the absolute value, these things will make sense to you later in other courses, but this is where you would find absolute value. So this was just meant to give you a little brief overview of some basic calculations that your calculator can do. We will be learning a lot more about the graphing capabilities of your calculator later.